What were the top 3 steps and or actions taken that has led your organization or department being successful in creating your new and well-defined diverse organizational culture? Which you mentioned you started this diversity council, which is impactful for an organization. And then ask who, and if you could provide titles, has supported you and your colleagues as you continue to successfully move forward toward a more multicultural workplace. And we know that you have to have executive champions to even start this kind of thing. So why don't you start addressing that?
Very true, and that is, did want to piggyback based on the other question. With that diversity council, what's exciting is we had a champion that really moved a women's leadership council into being, and that's our SVP of HR. And based on feedback from a couple of our market vice presidents, there was one female regional director that really came up through the grassroots and is kind of our champion for the Women's Leadership Council. And what the council is doing today, which is really exciting, we've got all of our women, district managers and regional directors. We have a monthly conference call, and we have a summit once a year, and we bring key leaders for not only leadership development, but assisting in developing strong action plans around diversity. So one of the motto for this Women's Leadership Council is to hire diverse talent, be a catalyst for diversity and model diversity. Number 2 is be the voice. And with that, you actively participate, share best practices. So they travel around and meet with other district managers that they really don't understand, how do I go out and find female talent? What do I do differently? How do I change my recruiting method? You know, it's really the same. You just go different places. So this group really kind of models it. They take them along. They go with them to reach out to other potential candidates. And then the third one is develop and retain. And with this, we support onboarding. So you may have a new female district manager, store manager coming in, and you have someone that's going to mentor you, help you to understand all the policies, the procedures, the culture. Also with that, we have a strong mentoring relationship with the women that are part of the Diversity Council. So not only are they mentoring each other, but they're going out and supporting the diversity recruiting efforts around enterprise, around the company. So that's been very good. With those annual meetings, we share that diversity, the value of hiring a diverse workforce, it positively impacts business results. So if it affects the pocketbook, you know, that's going to make some action. Profitability and productivity. Diversity positively impacts customer experience. Anybody know what the Net Promoter Scores are for you in marketing? Your customers rate you. And if you are emotionally connecting with your customers, your Net Promoter Score will increase. And then also diversity positively impacts ideas, innovation, and inclusion. So with that, this group has helped us to increase our female workforce by 5%. And we're kind of at a level right now that we're excited about increasing the diversity for the gender for the women. So those are some of the things that we've been doing. It's a lot of fun, and I think the council, they're very passionate. And they partner with our diversity council with webinars. I was just thinking about that, looking at May. And it's just so exciting that they want to get as much information as they can to share with others and help mentor others.
Irene, would you like to address that? Should you address executive champions?
Yes. Well, for us in American, I think that the most important thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, with the employee research groups, this has been a direct tie of diversity at the company, and it's not new to American. The first set of diversity groups were created 20 years ago. So we've had a long history of making sure that we're inclusive and that we truly appreciate and bring forward all of the aside from creating employee resource groups, and then we also have a diversity council, the ability for these groups to engage with each other, the communities, and also to tap into the resources of the company to help with our success has been truly critical. We rely a great deal on these employee resource groups to help us make the right decisions, whether it's in talent acquisition, whether it's in recruiting, in marketing, and advertising. I can give you some examples, like our Asian Pacific Islander group. We have been at American for the last 2-3 years, very active in expanding our routes to Asia. Well, who are the experts? It's not going to be, the lady from Oklahoma or the gentleman from Arkansas that may be working in that department. It's the individuals and our own employees that may be most familiar and from the cultures that we're trying to serve. So we've tapped into these groups to help us identify, is our advertising online? You'd be surprised, like our Japanese employees have said, culturally you're using, signs and symbols that are old-fashioned and they really don't translate well. So we had to make some adjustments based on that. Our signage, culturally, for our media and advertising, does this look right for us? Can you help us with translation services? We have employees that have served as ambassadors and translators in really important meetings for the company. So that's one aspect. The other is that we have to educate at every single opportunity, right? So if you have an internal website and you have an opportunity to highlight, why do we celebrate Black History Month? Why is Women's Heritage Month important? What's happening for Asian Cultural Day, and why is that important to us, to all of us, not just for individuals of those groups? I think it really creates the opportunity for the company to say we truly are very inclusive. Now, that cannot be most important in those sections or in those cities where perhaps we don't have a great variety of ethnicities and cultures present. The makeup of employees at headquarters, I candidly call them the United Nations. You walk at American Airlines headquarters and it feels like you're in New York City, right? It's just everyone's at the table, which is great. If you go to one of our smaller stations, however, maybe there's no Native Americans at that particular station, or maybe there's no Asians or Latinos. So, to the ability that you have to educate and just engage people in the excitement of what culture brings and the value that culture brings to these platforms, I think it really helps in our success. The last point I wanted to make is that a lot of companies will have, sometimes they call it diversity training. Sometimes it's more compliance-based. Doing the right thing, making sure about equal employment opportunities and so forth. American have had such training for a long time. But in the last couple of years, we moved from being very compliance-based into being more about inclusion-based. And how that looks today is that this training is mandatory for all employees. It's called the value of respect. And instead of just highlighting the rules that are mandated for just being a good corporate company, quite frankly, it talks about why is diversity important as a company, as an employee. And so there may be aspects in this training that said, what is the buying power of Asians in the U.S., right? And when you start looking at these numbers, you say, look at the value that our customers bring. Look at the value that employees, that are those ethnicities, can help us figure out what we need to do with these stations and facilities and new routes. What do we need to do in terms of people with disabilities, which is another huge opportunity to summarize, engage employees in any way, educate in any platform that we can, and just move the dial from just being compliant-based into truly embracing diversity.
Excellent. Dave, do you want to address executive champions of Walkie?
Yes, let me speak briefly, being conscious of time, because we want to get next time to ask questions also. Our CEO, Marilyn Houston, made a comment that's been published that where she clearly states employees need to be able to bring their whole selves to work. They are if employees are coming to work and don't feel like they're being included and aren't engaged, you're not going to get the innovation, and the employee won't be contributing. It really does affect the bottom line. So bringing your whole self to work is important. Training leaders and making leaders aware is a key element. And I'll mention, I won't go into the other programs, but we have at Lockheed Martin Corporation, we have what we call leadership forums that are aligned with our employee resource groups. There's 7 of them that occur throughout the year. They are one-day, full-day sessions. We have an African American leadership forum, an Asian American, people with disabilities, Hispanic, women, veterans and military, and LGBT. And they align with our employee resource groups. But the whole purpose there is to provide senior leaders and frontline leaders with an awareness and understanding of what, the value that the groups bring and how they can better include them. So it's been a very successful program, probably in its 4th year, and we're moving ahead this year. As a matter of fact, I'm going to Washington later on in February for the first leadership forum that we'll have this year. It's a great event and a great opportunity for our leaders to